Hey guys, good afternoon. I'm tripping, y'all. It is not good afternoon. It is good evening and happy Tuesday. Listen, clearly I am tripping because I'm still thinking it's the middle of the day, but it's not. Welcome to another Ultimate Girlfriends pop-up conversation. Yes, I did it again. I popped up on y'all because I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today, and I'm so excited to introduce you guys to her. But before we get started, you know your girl has to open up the show and tell you about some things that I'm feeling. So you know the Ultimate Girlfriends pop-up conversation is powered by the In Love Show, hosted by your girl Nicole Rochelin, natural born conversationalist, and it is powered by, produced by Love and Sunshine Media, where all things are love and all things are conversation. So tonight our show is talking about the real estate. And we're not just talking about the real estate that you can buy and purchase out here in these Houston streets and in the city, but we're also talking about the real estate where you're talking about the real estate that you put into yourself. You are the real estate. So I'm excited to dive into this conversation. But before I do, I want to introduce you to my girl. Her name is Makia Graves, but I know her by Miss Kia Nicole, as you see scrolling across this screen. She is a Chicago born native as myself. So we do have a commonality, but I originally met this beautiful young lady at a photo shoot. And when I tell y'all she is gorgeous, y'all, she is gorgeous and patient because she took a whole bunch of pictures for me. So thank you, girl. But on top of that, she's not just a Chicago native. She's here in Houston now. She is a realtor in our city, but she's also a shoe enthusiast, and she has her own shoe company. So I want to welcome Miss Makia Graves, aka Kia Nicole, to the Ultimate Girlfriends pop-up conversation. Hey, girl.
Hi, how are you?
Girl, listen, let me tell you something. I forget when the weather changed. You know, I changed little shades. And so this makeup situation was not working for me today, girl. I had to turn this light down because I was looking like somebody white mama. Girl,
No.
girl, no. If I turn this light up, you're gonna be like, oh, girl. So I had to turn it down just a little bit because you're like, who is this Caucasian lady? I did not meet you in the beginning. Like, who are
Mm-mm.
you and where is Nicole for real? So it
Mm-mm.
is me, girl.
No, you
Welcome.
look good. You look good.
Thank you. Thank you. And so do you, gorgeous as usual. And I see, girl, you got a whole bunch of shoes behind you. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love your closet, girl. Ooh, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really good. I'm excited about, just these last couple of, not even, I can't even say months, these last couple of days, these weeks of the year as we go into the new year. So I've got a lot of great stuff planned and excited for all of that. But I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Well, you look good. And I see you out here on social media, in these social media streets, girl. And I see that you're busy doing things. So you are a realtor, you have a shoe business, and you also have been doing things in our community. I saw, and I'm so sorry. I want to apologize to you that I was unable to attend your beautiful event, the Pink Tea Party in the month of October, which is, we know, Breast Cancer Awareness
Mhm.
Month. So I'm so sorry, but I know
Okay.
everything was wonderful.
Yes, we had an amazing turnout. I'm really, really proud. So that was the first time I did an event to that magnitude. So just to see all the details and plans actually come to life, that was like beyond amazing. I was a little blown away,
Well,
but
I'm
yeah,
so
everything
glad it
turned
worked
out
out for you.
amazing. Yeah, everything turned out amazing, and we're definitely going to be doing it again next year. So I'm excited for that. And it was kind of overwhelming with the response, just like the feedback from people after the fact, wanting to figure out, okay, well, what ways, can I support, how can I help out, to support you, and what you're doing for next year. Is there anything else you have going on? So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just so used to doing things myself. Like if I have an idea, I'm just gonna get it done, execute it, right? But this event definitely showed me that, it's just a matter of number one, sharing with people like, hey, this is what, I have an idea for, and letting them share with you, like, how can they, be of service? What speaks to them? What makes most sense for them? So that was something that I did for the first time with this event. And when I tell you, everybody just came together and just picked the pieces, and we just brought it together. We brought it to life.
That's
So
amazing.
we'll definitely do it again.
I want to talk a little bit more about that. I'm gonna turn this up just a little bit because to me, I'm just a little dark in here. Let me try one more time. Woo cha. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to tell you, girl. Listen, I know y'all, my friends, don't y'all make fun of me. I don't want to hear no text messages, even girl. I know the weather change. Y'all know what this do. Okay, but I want to go further into that. Like, what gave you this idea, the Think Pink Tea Party, in the first place? Why did you decide to do it?
So I've been wanting to do something for breast cancer awareness for a little while now, but just wasn't sure how to exactly execute that. So the reason why Breast Cancer Awareness Month, why October is so important to me, is because my mother is a breast cancer warrior. She was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer in 2018. And in 2020, I became a full-time caregiver for her. So just over the years, just seeing her battle and seeing, just not even just the part that, the patient has to go through when you're, dealing with chemotherapy and all of the different treatments that you go through, but just learning on the other side of it, with insurance and just the whole healthcare system in itself. It's a lot to manage, especially if this is your first introduction to it. Before this, my mom had never been sick before. All right. So to now, have something like this come about, and it's just so many things that you just don't know. You just don't know. It's like almost starting a new job, like in a completely different field. You have no idea where you should be going. So you really do have to lean heavily on, your support, right? Which may be friends and family. Maybe someone who, has gone through, a battle with cancer, right? Or maybe they had a family member, but you're also leaning heavily on, the medical professionals, so your team, right? Your doctors, your oncologists, your nurses, all of those different people. And your experience can really be shifted depending on who surrounds you. So that was something that I didn't quite like, because, it's challenging. We'll just say that it's very, very challenging, and it's really important for anybody that's going through any type of, illness, especially as terminal illness like that. You want to make sure that you have some type of support, because it's the advocacy that has to happen on the front end, the back end, in between all of those different stages. It really makes a difference in what type of care your loved one receives. All right. So when my mother was diagnosed and initially came here, we were getting ready to go on a cruise. We were going to celebrate her 1-year anniversary of being cancer free. So she was coming here to Houston. We were going to, cruise out of Galveston and everything like that. And literally the week that she flew down here, that next day is when everything shut down for the pandemic. So we were like, oh my God, like what's going on? Okay, cruise canceled. Okay. Everything and at that point, she wasn't even going to tell me that, that cancer had come back. But because everything shut down, she's like, okay, I got to sit down and let you know, hey, this is what's happening. Because actually, when she was on the ride to the airport in Chicago coming to Houston, that's when her oncologist called her and said, hey, the breast cancer has now spread to your lungs. So then now getting that information, now that we're, in Houston, we found out that there's this crazy coronavirus, disease that's, this airborne, there's not a whole lot of information about it. Everybody's in panic mode. And I'm finding out that my mom has, breast cancer now in her lungs. You can't go home. I can't send you on a plane. Like it's just, it was, we really went into the mode of, okay, how do we, get you the care that you need, right? How do we keep you safe and protected? So that was a whole thing in itself. And luckily, again, being able to reach out to people and say, hey, I need help. Luckily, I had, a colleague whose, sister worked at MD Anderson, and she worked in the admissions department. So I was literally able to get my mother in very quickly to see an oncologist, to, start that process and, get things moving fairly quickly for her. So what initially started as, us just having a, girls trip, to going to cruise turned into her being here for the last few years now. And it's been a journey. It really has been a journey. So seeing all of that transpire, I've wanted to do something to where not only to bring awareness, right, to what support can look like, what support currently looks like, but what it needs to look like, and not just from, family members to family member, but as far as what healthcare providers, what we need from healthcare providers, but then also what it looks like as far as resources that just your average person doesn't know about. Right. So that was a big part of wanting to do something like this, because there was so much we didn't know. And I wanted to continue that conversation, but then also open it up to other people that, hey, you may not be currently affected by breast cancer, or someone in your family may not currently be affected, but in the event that it does happen, right, you at least have a starting point of, hey, these are really great resources to get you in the right direction. So that's really what that community looked like. And then I also wanted my mom to have community too. So it's been so much of just me and her, with everything. And, there's only so much that I can do, being able to speak with someone else that literally is going through the exact same thing as you. That's just a different kind of conversation, a different type of bond you can have with someone. So I wanted to open that space for her to have that as well. All right. So all of those different things were running through my mind, and I'm like, how am I going to put this together? And, pink is just kind of my thing. And I saw something about tea, and it just was like, oh, we're having a tea party. We are having a tea party. We're going to put all the things together, and I'm going to pull people in, to have these conversations, people that, are part of different organizations around the city, local organizations around the city, right? Other women who are breast cancer survivors, right? And breast cancer advocates as well, right? So we put them all in a room together. We had an amazing panel discussion, which opened up the conversation for what I want to continue on. So that is my long-winded answer on how that came about.
It's okay. And like you said, it's all about the conversation. And one great thing about this, and this is why I love my show, is because the In Love Show is about all things love and all things conversation. So this embodies exactly what this show is made for. It's made for those people who have cancer, made to those people who know someone who has gone through it, maybe someone who's diagnosed down the road. Not even just that, but there is everything. All things are love, and all things should be just a simple conversation, but that's not what today's society supports. And so I am focusing on bringing that back to the forefront, where love, the power of love and the power of conversation is what outshines everything. And I'm so proud of your long-winded answer. And I'm glad that you're doing this, because without awareness and without those conversations, too many people go without a lot of answers and support that they could possibly have if they just have the conversation. So Thank you for that. Well, kudos to you, because I know that's a lot. I'm a former healthcare professional. I did it for 15 years before transitioning over to being a teacher. I think I lost my mind along the way there somewhere, but I definitely can understand. I definitely can relate to the things that I've seen. So, kudos to you. And I know it takes a lot, and you are an entrepreneur. You're doing all of these things, these wonderful things on your own. So real estate, first and foremost, before we even open that door, like why Houston? You left Chicago, which I can understand why you did that. But why did you choose Houston, the city where you're gonna, let me tell people who I am. Why here?
It's a really simple answer, but it's kind of crazy. I just really wanted to be in Houston. Like, I really
had you visited here before?
I had never been to Houston before in my life. So I originally wanted to come go to college in Texas. I knew I wanted to go to college in Texas, and then I started looking at some universities in Houston. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think this would be cool. And that just didn't happen. I ended up going to the University of Iowa, which is clearly the opposite direction, like a whole different vibe, like just not Houston at all. So I'm like, okay, I'll, just take that L. I'll take that L and just, leave that. And then started working in St. Louis, Missouri right after college. I wasn't happy there. And I'm like, you know what? I think this is my opportunity to just make the jump. Like, I knew I wanted to live in Houston, but I didn't really have anything planned or prepared. So I'm like, you know what? I don't have any kids. I'm not married. We're just going to make the jump. And outside of like wanting to go to college there, another reason I could say is that just looking up, because I always saw myself at least living in a place where it was where the African American community was affluent. Like that was really important to me. So I had that in my own community in Chicago. And I think that once I went to the University of Iowa, it was honestly a little bit of culture shock for me because I hadn't been exposed to, I mean, I went to a predominantly white university. So that was a lot. I'm like, I've never seen that many white people before at one time. This it was
because in the city we already know what you.
I was not
used to different communities, right? You can go to different communities and you see Jewtown, you see Polish people, right. So you see it
in those pockets, yes. Right? And I think that was when I realized how segregated Chicago is. Yes. I just thought that was just the norm. Like, oh yeah, you have your Chinatown, you got your Polish town, you got all of these different areas. Right. But that's also not like normal either. So to go to college and see that and to be immersed in that, and this is everyday life, I'm like, this is a lot. This is not necessarily what I want my everyday to look like. So that was something that was important to me too. So of course, when you look that up online, the first thing that comes up is Atlanta. Then you actually have Maryland, which has an amazing Black community out there. Like, I don't know if anybody knows about Maryland, but Maryland is like low-key popping when it comes to like affluent Blacks. But then you also have Houston. So it just fell in line with, what I already wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be in the South. So I'm like, okay, let's do Houston. I had been in Atlanta, didn't really feel the vibe, but I was like, I can try this out. So I literally decided one day that I was no longer going to be in my current job. I took some vacation time to come down and visit Houston to find an apartment. And then a month later, I drove my U-Haul and my car attached to the back and I moved. I think it was like a 13-hour drive or something crazy like that.
Oh, wow.
And I just moved.
So you were here. So were you working in real estate in St. Louis?
No, I wasn't.
So you did a whole shift. Like you was like, oh, if I'm gonna shift, like I'm gonna shift.
Yeah, it was a shift. So I'll go back a little bit. So when I was working in St. Louis, I wasn't in real estate. I was working I was working in sales. I was a district manager for a company. But prior to that, my family owns a real estate brokerage in Chicago. So I've always been introduced to real estate. I've always been around it. My family has a property management company. So I've always been working in real estate, but not officially, if you will. Right. So once I decided to leave the job that I was working in St. Louis, I said, well, I know that I want to still have the same type of flexibility that I have. But, I need even more control, right? I want to have more control of what my day-to-day looks like. I don't necessarily really feel this answering to somebody type of vibe. Like, it's not really for me. And once I really sat down and thought about it, I'm like, oh, shoot, like my mom doesn't answer to anyone. She has like the ultimate flexibility, like growing up, like my mom took us everywhere with her. So I was at showing appointments. I was at open houses. I was at the closing table, as young as, 2 and 3 years old. Like I've seen all of that. And I just thought that was so amazing that she had that flexibility to do that. So I said, okay, well, if my mom could do that, why can't I? Right. And this would be the perfect time to do that. Right. If I want to start in a new place, I can go ahead and start something new. Like I just felt like the sky is the limit, why not? I just felt invincible. So I decided to start taking my Texas licensing courses while I was still in Missouri. So I had like a 1-year plan to prepare me to move. And then once I moved, I had a plan on, okay, like I got a 6-month plan on, you got to start making some money. Okay. Because you get about 6 months of savings. So now you got to start making some money. So that's how I made that transition. So once I got to Houston, I was still taking some of my classes. I think I moved to Houston in June of 2019. I finished all of my classes by August, and then end of September is when I got licensed. Yeah. So I was trucking along. I'm like, okay, I got to stay on schedule because ain't no going back home. You got to figure this out. Like, you're really out here by yourself.
What I really love from this conversation, just hearing you tell about your journey, is that how you plan this whole process through. And I think a lot of times, not I think, I know a lot of times because I'm guilty of it. I know a lot of times we are not so willing to wait and go through the whole process and the whole journey of, okay, first I have to do this piece and before I can move to this piece. Like, we literally wake up, and a lot of people in society have this misconstruency that we just woke up and we decided this is what we're going to do, and all of a sudden we just pop it. And it doesn't work that way. So the fact that you were like, okay, so I know I have this, so let me do this. I just those little steps. So I hope that encourages someone today.
Yes.
You have to do it in steps. Like, it's not an instantaneous process. And even, oh girl, I don't know how many times, it's trying, but to keep going. I mean, I that's so amazing. I mean, and you're such a beautiful young woman to have a great attitude and to know what it is that you want, and to be able to have the courage to take the leap of faith and just do it. And that's what faith is, right?
Absolutely.
You step out on faith and you say what you want, and God say, you know what, let me show you these desires. Let me go and start giving you back because you didn't put in the work. So girl, that is amazing. I'm so proud of you. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
I sound like you're a mom. I am a mom. But
no, like, I mean, honestly, I have to give it back to them because I feel like the reason why I was able to feel so comfortable with, taking these, leaps of faith was because that's how my parents raised me. Like, they said, use your 20s to, explore, figure it out. They implanted in me that there's really nothing too crazy that you can do that we can't fix, that we can't help you work through to get you out of that, right? I mean, besides going to jail or doing something crazy, right? But there's not too much that we can't help you figure out, right? So, feel free to be able to make choices, right? And then I also believe that, if God gives me two decisions, right, two choices that I can choose between, right? Well, they're not going to be bad choices. He's not going to put two bad options in front of me. So whichever one I pick, he's going to be there to help guide me. And that's been something that's helped to give me comfort, right? Especially when you're transitioning from, being employed, having that, that check coming in, consistently, to then transitioning into being a full-time entrepreneur, like no type of, easing your way in, just completely, just jumping right into it. Well, having that plan and preparing for it, that also gave me a sense of comfort too. Okay, well, I did all this preparation. I know that things could possibly, go a little bit differently, but that's something that gave me the comfort to know that, it's okay to go ahead and start moving forward, to follow that plan, because you spent so much time thinking through it. And if I spent any more time thinking about it, I wouldn't have done it. So that was another thing too. I'm the type of person, I have to just fully commit, fully go in, or else I'm not going to do it.
Girl, look, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Now, so how has your real estate journey been? Has it been wonderful? And how do you manage? Like, okay, houses don't close right away. We all know that. There is a journey. There's a process. You got to show these folks these houses. They think they want all this, but they coin say you can't have all this. So it's like process. And, closing costs, all of those things. So having to make sure that you're being wise with your spending. What is one thing that you can say to those entrepreneurs out there, not just the realtors, but those entrepreneurs that are out there that are working for themselves and have to put in the work before they see the benefit of, all of the work that they've obtained? How do you pace yourself?
So I mean, to be honest with you, it really does go back to that preparation. So it really is a mindset shift that you have to start taking on before you jump into it full force, because it is a huge difference, right? It's a big difference between, being a full-time entrepreneur, and you have to really put in a lot of work. You work before you can eat, right? You have to show up every single day consistently before you even are in a position to where you can start making money for yourself. So that mindset shift of understanding that, hey, no one is going to be standing there or, instructing you on what you should be doing or how you should be doing or making sure that you're staying on task. You have to have that diligence and discipline inside of you. So start having that shift early on as a part of that planning process, but then also having conversations with other people that are in the space that you want to be, because it'll open up your mind to, okay, these are the type of things that I should be looking at, and they may give you some more insight onto what this path is truly going to look like. I think that a lot of times when people get into anything, but especially with real estate, a lot of first time realtors are really shocked by just the reality of what this business really is, how it looks, because on social media, it looks really fun. It looks really cool. It's glamorous, showing pretty houses, dressing up cute and going to the closing table. And that's such a very small portion of what
Right.
actually happens.
They don't see the
That's
behind the
fun.
scenes.
Yeah, like it's almost like it didn't even happen because it's such a small piece of what actually happens, right? So I think that the biggest thing that I would say definitely is focusing on having that mindset shift, talking to people that are in the place, in the space where you want to be, and then also start, having conversation about finances. A lot of times, we go into things and we may not have already been great at managing our finances, but now we're going to in a space where you really do have to be a master of your finances. So it's not just going to automatically, you're not going to just automatically pick it up, right? A lot of times you'll find agents where, they're making good money, but they haven't saved anything or they haven't set aside anything for a rainy day. And then it becomes, a really strenuous, process. So, being able to, pay in advance for things, right? Pay some things up and, just have a plan. Like always, everything goes back to a plan, but having a plan for how you're going to accomplish those things and pulling the right people in to the conversation, talking with an accountant, right? Okay, well, I'm starting a business. What are some things that I should know as a business owner, right? I may not be, in the position to hire the accountant as far as managing my books because there's nothing to manage right now. But at least, can I have a consultation with you to get an understanding of what should I be doing to start creating a foundation so that when I am making money, I can hand you over all the pieces and you can make it glitter, right? You can make it do whatever it's supposed to do. So that's something that I would highly, highly recommend. Start having conversations with those key people in the beginning because it's just only going to make your transition even smoother.
Okay, well, thank you for those tidbits. This reminds me of a conversation I literally just had with my students today about, I teach English 3. So they're just like, it's a lot of analysis, right? And so they're like, I think I don't need English. It's this, and that. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I said, so how are you going to write your business plan? If you don't know how to think on a deeper level and how do you, when it's time for you to purchase your home, like if you don't know how to critically think that if I buy this $400,000 home, am I going to be able to pay all the utilities? Am I going to be able to afford my toiletries? Furthermore, I need, haircut. I need gas for my car. You also have a car note. Like groceries are expensive. Like you have to think about the decisions that I make right now. How are they going to affect me in the future? And this is what I'm pouring more into you. Just the ability to start thinking about the why, the who, the what, the when, the where, the how, and the why. And I think this is very applicable when it comes to entrepreneurship or any type of business that we're thinking to go into. Like, why are we doing this? What is our why? Okay, so how are we going to manage this? And are you going to be able to understand the process? Are you going to be able to go through the steps to plan and prepare? And it looks like you're doing a wonderful job. So again, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Now, girl, let's talk about these shoes. Okay. Now, I love me a shoe. Lately I'm into tennis shoes because I have a medical condition on my own. So it doesn't afford me the comfortability that I used to have, just the ability that I used to have to wear heels and things like I used to. So right now I'm like a tennis shoe freak. New Balance in particular, but I'm
Yeah.
looking, I have not been able to part with my beautiful, beautiful heels,
Oh,
my shoes. Like I love them so, so much.
I
And I
know.
want more. And I already know. I mean, I can sit on my couch and be like, oh yes, girl, you did that. That shoe is cute. But outside of that, I can't. So I'm low-key jealous of all these beautiful
Oh.
shoes I see behind you. But I see that you found another niche. You have another business involving shoes,
Mhm.
and you are catering to those women who have larger sizes. Not because you thick, but because as women and just like people, we come in all different shapes and sizes. So tell me the name of your business and tell me, when did you start this? And girl, why didn't you tell me about this when we met? We were in the same room 2 times and you never once told me about this. So we gonna have a conversation. But anyways, tell us about these shoes, girl. What's the name of your shoe company?
My shoe company is called Dream and Fifth. That's my baby. Like before real estate, before I started selling real estate, Dream and Fifth was that was my first, introduction to entrepreneurship. So I took a lot of the lessons that I learned there and brought them over to real estate because, a lot of times people think that, as a realtor, you're working for a broker, it's just another job. No, you're 100% an entrepreneur. So I was grateful for having that first experience into entrepreneurship before coming over to real estate. But as you said, it is a shoe line that is dedicated to women with larger shoe sizes because I want to wear heels too. Like I don't want to be limited on, what my options are. And that was something that I saw for years and just got fed up with it. So after, doing, the extensive research and trying to figure out, okay, well, how can I satisfy, my desire for different heels and colors and all of these different things, right, that we see. And I said, okay, well, if this is an issue that I'm having, somebody else is having this issue too. I know I'm not the only person walking around with a size 12. There has to be. And just after putting it out there and seeing that, the 13s, the 14s, and even sometimes the 15s get a lot of love because, you know, where else do you find that? Right? Where else do you find it? And I apologize that we did not talk about it. That is one of my businesses that I literally just let live and it just kind of does its own thing. I've put a lot of systems in place to, allow it to run because it is a lot, right? Running more, 2 businesses, 3 business, anything more than one business, it can be overwhelming. It can be a lot. So I do allow it to, to run itself, but I do got to get better at that. I got to get better at telling people like, yes, this is also
more about it. Yes. So
yes.
what shoe size do you start at?
I actually started at size 8. So originally when I started at the size 10. It was just 10 to 14. And I'm like, I just want it to be just for us. But then when I thought about it a couple years into it, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm kind of doing the same thing that they did to me, right? Just excluding other people. And then I started getting, inquiries from other people like, hey, well, I wear a size 9. Like, I really love this shoe, but do you have anything, smaller than a size 10? So that's what, opened up the door for me to say, you know what? I really didn't want to create that reverse, situation. So I said, we're going to go from size 8 all the way to size 15. So that is how that happened.
I need to know something. Does that include wide width?
Yes, ma'am.
Lord, see, I knew I needed to interview her for a reason. Okay. Yes, because that's what I think that I would be okay. I have autoimmune arthritis. I've been diagnosed in my late 20s, which wasn't that long ago.
Just yesterday.
So I was diagnosed with that, and as time has gone by, my condition has worsened. And the heels, they don't make. Sometimes I'm too swollen in my joints where I can't even put the shoe on my foot. And so trying to go to like DSW or Aldo, which is some place that Aldo was one of the great places that I always shop to find.
They are so narrow. Those shoes are so narrow. It's never really been true to size. Like
exactly, because I will be going up to get this part, but I needed this part.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And so it's such a difficult task to
Mhm.
find a cute shoe in my size that is wide with that's going to accommodate my needs. So, girl,
Yeah.
I done messed around and found out.
Yes. And then
Yes.
also too, one thing that I love about our shoes too is that, like for your standard, shoe is typically pretty narrow, like your mainstream shoes. Because a lot of the shoes that are like mass produced, like you can find them in multiple places, right? You can find them
Right.
over at, you know, Public Desire, at all the like it's the same design, right? And the standard shoe is pretty narrow. Our shoes aren't narrow like your standard shoes. You're gonna have some space even on our regular sizes. So you low-key might be okay with our standard size because you got space, girl. I'm trying to tell you. You got
Now,
space.
let me, I need to see this. Which shoe behind you is from your brand?
Oh, they all are.
Oh, girl, let me see yours, please.
I don't know what
Now, I see some yellow back there. Yellow's my absolute favorite color. So,
oh, this one
oh,
was
yes,
this
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes,
one.
ma'am. Oh, oh my God. I see my friend is on here. Ty, girl, we done messed around and found out about
Hey.
the shoes.
Hey, friend. These. And then we also have a little yellow, and this heel's got like a colorful like snake print.
And it's chunky. Oh
It's
my God.
chunky. It's chunky.
I see what you mean because I do see
Yeah,
it
like
already.
this is a lot of space inside of it. This is not narrow at all. At
Ooh.
all. Like,
And so
yeah.
these are the type of things you over here selling and didn't tell nobody.
I'm sorry.
I don't even know how to feel. Interview over.
But yeah, I'm like obsessed. Like
I
beyond
see.
obsessed with you.
I see.
Like,
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm definitely gonna find out a little bit more when I go online and look at these shoes. Oh Lord, help me. Ooh. Oh. And I don't need another pair.
I know that's the hard part. I'm like, oh, it's so hard. Like having a shoe store. I'm like, I need all of these. I'm just sampling them. I'm like, girl, you don't need no more shoes. No more.
I know I don't, but here's the thing. I'm going to tell myself that, Nicole, these are the shoes that you actually can wear. So start getting rid of those other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe y'all have a shoe sale, y'all. I got some bomb shoes. And
yeah.
need to get some new ones, girl. Yes, I love it. Now, as I told you guys at the beginning of the show that, yes, I did want to talk about real estate. And we talked about them shoes, honey, because shoes are made for walking and we have to walk in these streets, honey. But additionally, while we're walking fashionably in these beautiful shoes, we also have to understand not just real estate, that's something that you can go out and look in the city to purchase, but real estate is in yourself. Every place you go, every person that you decide to encounter, those individuals that you invite in, you have to have enough real estate in yourself. I also want to add, when you have that real estate in yourself, when you are pouring into yourself, what happens with real estate? In time, you gain equity, okay?
Yes.
And then we understand the value, right? We understand the value of when we buy a home and pour it into it, and that we create equity, which means it's going up, up, up. Well, I want to challenge y'all. What are you pouring into yourself? Okay, because that equity that you pour into yourself, that you have to know your worth, honey. And so knowing your worth, you have to make sure that what you're pouring into you, that value just keeps building and building and building. And when you invite somebody in, whether it's to your circle or you want to get into a relationship, is that investment going to be worth that return? That part. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Like, have you ever thought of real estate in that aspect? Like, you are a realtor and everything. That's wonderful. And I'm glad that you're doing well. I'm glad you're thriving. But have you thought about how real estate pertains to you?
Honestly, I've never looked at it the way you've just so eloquently explained it, and I truly loved it. I'm like, oh, she really going somewhere with this. Like, I love that. No, I really do. Like, I love that aspect of, we are that real estate, this prized possession, right? And as we continue to pour into ourselves, that equity increases. And the way that I think about that, like instantly, was, how we what do we put back into ourselves, right? How do we, continue to develop ourselves? That self-development, right? How are we continuing to make sure that we're at the top of our game, right? How are we elevating? How am I going to outdo what I did last year? Because I'm never ever concerned with what someone else is doing. I'm just concerned with who I was last year and making sure that I'm moving forward, that equity is continuing to increase. So I feel like self-development is easily one of the biggest cheat codes that people look over. People always want to figure out, okay, well, how did you get to this place? You talked about earlier on the show that, a lot of times people think that, hey, when people kind of pivot and make decisions to do something different, they think that, okay, well, overnight, it just popped off and everything went great. No, like, that doesn't happen. That time definitely has to be put into it. And that's where that self-development comes from. Continuing to pour back into yourself, making sure that you're staying on top of what's currently happening in the market, right? You're constantly going to trainings, right? You're constantly connecting with other people in your industry, right? Instead of looking at it as, we're competing with one another. I can learn from the other agent on the other side of the deal. This doesn't have to be, this battle royale that people try to make it seem like. I've had plenty of transactions where it's been a great experience, not just for my client, but also the experience between the two realtors, because we made a decision that, hey, we have, a mutual interest here, right? We want both of our clients to walk away with something, right? So how can we make this a positive experience for everyone involved, right? So I can always be learning. So if you put yourself in a mindset of, I'm always a learner first. I'm always going to listen first. I'm always going to make sure that I'm pouring back into myself first. That's how you elevate. It truly is. Like, you ask any successful person, they're always going to say that you have to make sure that you're constantly educating yourself, constantly making sure that you are always putting yourself in positions, in rooms, and spaces where you can learn from someone else.
Right.
So I love that.
And I'm very conscientious now that I'm a little older. I have definitely, I look back who I was, that Chicago girl who came here. You know how Chicago is. And I'll be honest, I had a culture shock when I came here, because I'm like, okay, this is not city like what I know city like. What you mean closed at 10 o'clock? Like, you don't have a place, I just recently learned, side note, I was on the other side of town the other day with my boyfriend, and I was like, when they get a JJ Fish? Like, I was like, oh yeah, girl.
I knew they had Harold's down here, but I didn't know they had JJ's.
They had a JJ's, and I was like, this was Chicago chain. I'm like, hold on now. But I'm looking, and I'm just looking how we look at businesses and we think this is the only place that we're going to thrive. People know us here. People, flock to us here. This is a brand that, we have multiple chains around the city. But for a long time, I do know, because I had a friend who tried to open up a Harold's franchise here some years ago, and they kept declining. They didn't want to leave where they were and such. And then this goes back to people as ourselves, like, why are we so reluctant to get out of what we know? We're so complacent with the people that keep coming to the same location, but we don't expand our mindset. Therefore, our growth becomes hindered, and we become so content. So when I was reading your bio, and I mean, this whole real estate, versus real estate came to me like, damn, what does this mean? Like, in a home, when you pouring and investing, you're going to take care of your house. You got homeowner association fees for maintenance of the property and the neighborhood. Like, you got to keep your lawn right. Like, I pray that you'll keep your house clean, right? You got to nurture it. You got to furnish it with things. You have to put things inside of it to make it what you want it to be. So why are we not doing the same thing for ourselves? Why are we not putting that same type of investment with ourselves? And so that's where this came from. After reading your bio, I'm like, you know what? It just popped up. But I'm one of them, like I told you, I'm one of them analytical people like
Yeah.
what kind of meanings? We always look at things one way, but what's another way, a different perspective that can come to mind? And you do that, and then you have a conversation about it, and then boom, there it is.
It
You know,
just all came together.
it just all came together. So thank you for bringing that to my vision today, and you, without you knowing, unbeknownst to you, you poured into me by being a realtor and doing real estate, because it made me remind myself, like, Nicole, you no longer have a house, but what about your real estate as a person, as a woman, as a business woman, as an educator? How are you pouring into you all the time to make sure that your investment, which is me, keeps growing in equity,
Yeah.
keeps maturing for the good, which is a positive thing, except instead of, don't neglect it. So, guys, this is the word as we are wrapping up today.
It really is.
Look, if you're looking for a gorgeous, educated realtor, make sure you hit Miss Kia Nicole up. I have her social media where you can directly go to her, scrolling across this screen, which we've been doing the entire show. But go there. If you're looking for some bomb shoes, honey, she it too, okay? So get them shoes to help keep walking in your purpose. And if you're looking for a home, she got your back. But don't forget that the ultimate real estate is you, honey. Boom. That part. Miss Makia,
yes.
What is your website for those shoes, honey?
My website is www.dreaminfifth.com. So that's DREAM, the letter N, and then FITH.com.
Okay, so dreaminfifth.com. Make sure you go there for some beautiful shoes for those women that are out there. We love you, all shapes and sizes, but this is made for you and brought to you because you were kept in mind. Any last words?
Well, I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for the invitation, for this amazing platform to be able to speak and share a little bit about who I am and what I do, but also just about the things that, are really important to me. I was really excited to be able to share more about, the event that I had last month for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but then also thanking you for that piece just now about, the equity that we have in ourselves and continuing to make sure that we grow that and we continue to water that. So I appreciate that, because that was just you really just, spoke a word to me. You really did, because I think that a lot of times that people find themselves maybe stuck or, not continuing to progress is, just the fear of the unknown, right? Mm-hmm. Not sure how things will work out and, becoming comfortable in this space that they're currently in. But there is something truly amazing on the other side of fear if you just have enough faith to walk out and find out. So I am a testament of just believing enough in yourself and believing enough in your faith that no matter what happens, God has you. He has you covered, and it will be okay. He will create a way for you. It may not be in the way that you saw, but he does have a plan for you. You just have to continue to walk in that path with him. And then also ask him. Another thing that a friend had spoke to me one day, she said that in her prayer, she asks that, God, I pray that the goals and the desires that I have for myself are in alignment with what you have for me. Yes. That's the whole prayer in itself. Mm-hmm. That's it. God, I pray that the desires that I have for myself are in alignment for what your desire is for me. Saying that by itself will take you to wherever it is.
Just take it. And girl, don't get me started on prayer, because people don't know. My prayer used to be just like, help me, Jesus. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it. That is it. It don't matter. It don't matter, because it's no particular way to pray. But you have to be honest. You gotta, if you trust and you seek him and you want him to abide in you and you abide in him, then you have to be willing to talk to him and ask him to make clear, because I know I've had those conversations with God, but I had to remember also too to follow up and be like, oh Lord, Okay, this time I'm praying. This is what I'm asking you to reveal to me, but also too, I'm
Yeah.
asking you to give me the room to receive it.
Yes.
That strength to I asked you for this, you gave it to me. Now I'm in my feelings. Remove that spirit from me because I asked you, you trust me. You said I'm going to do what you need. I'm going to give you the desires of your heart. I'm going to show you, but we have to be willing to listen. So listen, guys, listen to yourselves, pray about it, make sure that you know what it is that you want. And when you go to him in prayer, pray about it and be willing to receive what he says. And so that's a whole nother part. Ooh, girl, listen. All right. Well, that's a topic for another day, guys. But I'm glad that those that tune in today, I want to say thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your evening with me. Tuesdays are the days I typically pop on up with a conversation, but you never know. You have to keep on watching. Make sure you are following this beautiful young lady. It's scrolling right across the screen at Kia Nicole, and that's KIANICHOL. And make sure you're following your girl too. I'm right there at Nicole Rochelle. And make sure you're following, the In Love Show. Go to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe. I want to see you there. And if you want to be a guest, just hit me up and we'll make sure that we have another conversation with you too. All right. Any last words?
Just thank you and continue to be fabulous and amazing. And I will be tuning in for the next
And
one.
put me down next year. Put me down. I will make sure, give me dates in advance and I will block whatever.
Yes.
And then
absolutely.
my son go to homecoming this time. He paying for himself. And
Ah,
all of it, girl. He
the
is
babies
so
come first. The
extra.
babies come first. Like
Yes.
everybody
I don't know.
weekend.
He needs a job. He need a whole job. But no, keep me informed. I would love, love, love to contribute in any capacity that I can. And if you have friends, send them my way. Your other entrepreneur friends,
Absolutely.
like I say, all things are love and all things are conversation. And in those conversations, we are able to connect and encourage, uplift, and empower each other. So thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this episode of the In Love Show presents the Ultimate Girlfriends pop-up conversation with special guest Makia Graves. I am your host and conversationalist, Nicole Rochelle. Again, make sure to like, follow us on all social media platforms, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube. If this has blessed you, make sure you share it with someone else. Even if it hasn't, this is a word for somebody else. So share, comment, like, and all of the above. But until next time, guys, I'll see you next time, and make sure to keep all things love and all things conversation. Peace.
Bye.